My pleasure. So, I'll move this right now, but you can use it when you do your reading. Is this vodka?
I have some whiskey.
So, you don't need to be nervous. We're among friends. The first question I always ask is, why poetry?
I watched you on YouTube, so I did my.
Oh, okay, excellent.
So, my first response was no rules, and my second response was it's short, and my third was I don't know if it's a matter of choice, I didn't make any conscious I'm going to write poetry kind of choice. It just happens. And then I like what Sylvia Plath said. There's a voice inside me that can't keep still or won't keep still.
Mm-hmm.
Or I said there's a voice inside me that won't shut up. So I guess that's why.
Okay, when did you first start focusing on words? When did you first get into, is it safe to say poetry, or do we want to just say words for you?
Maybe just words. I fantasize about being a novelist, but I can't hold a train of thought long enough.
Yeah, I can't do plot.
And when I started writing, what started was junior year in high school, and my girlfriend was grounded because we'd stay out too late, and I stayed up all night long, and I started a journal.
Wow.
About how oppressive parents are and how tragic it was.
Wow, Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah, so that's how it all started.
And who were some of your early influences?
Probably, in high school, I don't even know who it was, just like whoever they were teaching at the time. But then when I tuned in, I really like T.S. Eliot and Sylvia Plath, like people with really good rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
The first people I ever heard read that really knocked me out was Audre Lorde.
Oh, great. Yeah, we were just talking about her.
Yeah. And that was in college, and that was a totally different experience. Like, they read for about a half hour, and when I left, words, lines were just going through my head, like brand new lines. And, it's kind of like being in a trance, listening to them read. So that was great. And I like John Berryman quite a lot.
Oh, yeah, I love dream songs.
Yeah. And E.E. Cummings, even though I don't read him a lot, the ones I do read I love, and just the fact he is and what he did.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. And then music, probably, lyrics. Rolling Stones, Beatles, all those rock and roll lyrics you grew up with.
So, after you heard Audre Lorde and Jory Graham, did you go out and start writing? When did you start reading out, I guess?
That was a revelation. That was until I lived in Tucson when I was 24.
Mm-hmm.
And I had been writing, ever since high school. Everybody I showed my stuff to just thought it was really depressing.
Was it?
Well, I didn't think so, but they just thought, God, that's depressing. And then I was in this poetry group, and every month somebody would do a reading at a coffee shop called The Mosaic, and my turn came up. So I was at a friend's house, and I read one of them in a crazy voice. And he said, you should read all of them in a different crazy voice. So I did. So they were all laughing. But the stuff they thought was so depressing. It's like, finally, they get it. And then this guy says, I really like that poem, send it in to me, I want to publish it. And I did, and he goes, I don't really like it so much now. It's better when you read it. It's not funny anymore. It's depressing again.
So, and that's a hard thing to do, to be good in presentation and on the page. And in my own work. It took me a long time before I felt like I could let other people read my stuff on the page without me there to interpret it.
Right.
So how did that struggle go?
It's ongoing.
It's
Yeah, it's still going.
Okay, and I think maybe a little background. So David has written books, and his words stand up on the page, and he's got a recent one out by Raw Paw, and he's got some stuff from Aileron. And when was the Aileron from?
1987.
Okay, 87. So there's stuff back there for your perusal or purchasing. And but David also does a lot of performance. So back right after I got in, we had the tape record, the tapes and the loops and the voice changers, and that was a lot of fun. And then you've done, what would you call like your Spaceman stuff? Is it like a mini operetta or so he's got like Spaceman with music. He's got Incarnation, which he has a multimedia show back at the Hyde Park Theater. And so there's a really big performance component that goes along with your poetry. So that's why earlier I was thinking about expanding the definition to words. What about this performance aspect, and how does that change the original writing?
It's a good question. Hard to answer in a way. Because the performance is different depending whether it's without music or with music or
Mm-hmm.
with technology and voice distortion things or not. If you have a voice distorter and you talk through it, whatever you say comes out sounding like somebody else. And so sometimes a character will just start talking that sounds like it would go with that voice. So
Character on the page.
well, a lot of the stuff I did in the performance we build just through improv and jam.
Okay.
So he's just playing music and I'm just talking, you know. And the stuff that's written on the page, yeah, it's just whatever feels right, you know. It's like I usually have to listen to the music and try to find something that fits, then try to get somebody to fit the words to the music.
Are you working with persona?
Yes, but not in the way that I pick a character and like design them and dress like him and like this is this person.
Okay.
But definitely different people are coming through all the time. But if it's one person Wednesday night and somebody else Thursday night, it's okay. You know, I don't try to stick with whoever it is coming through.
Okay.
So, but it's definitely a lot of persona-driven stuff.
And so we talked about some page poets. So is Laurie Anderson or Eric Bogosian or Robert Ashley or Lenny Bruce? I mean, you do a lot of funny stuff nowadays.
All right, Lenny Bruce, Bill Hicks,
Okay.
John Giorno,
Yeah.
who did a great poetry series. And there was a guy, Harvey Kubernick, that did an album called Voices of the Angels. And he had Patti Smith doing spoken word, like all these people in LA doing a whole album of like 2-minute bits or 30-second bits
Mm-hmm.
of really brilliant spoken word stuff. Had William Burroughs' son do one
Oh, wow.
about neopacity. And that was, it's like, we are thinking people, Neil, we do not feel, so feel for us, Neil. Be near for us, Neil. Feel for us now. It's no wonder. Something like that. It was good.
Is there stuff that works better on the page or in performance that you?
Yeah, definitely. There's some stuff that works on the page, or I hope works on the page, that is it's just unreadable out loud. Just I don't know how to translate it. And other stuff that it's just boring on paper, but it can be interesting out loud.
How so?
How is it boring on paper?
Yeah, well, I guess why, what makes it one way or the other? What is it? Well, I know you can't do loops and things on the page very well. You can't do simultaneous sounds, but other things?
Well, like with music, with song lyrics, like they're often boring, so
Okay.
music can carry a lot of weight of things. And you can make a lot of jump cuts and with music behind it that don't make any sense,
Mhm.
but it sounds okay. But if you read it on the page, it's like, well, I don't know what's going on. And then there are things that I like to write. It might not have any punctuation at all,
Mhm.
and I hear it a certain way, but I don't think anybody would necessarily read it that way.
Yeah, that's a hard thing to
Yeah.
get across.
So, yeah, it just has to do with the space between words and the rhythms, and how do you
Mhm.
deliver the rhythm and the persona of
Okay,
who's talking.
the person.
Yeah. Because some things might have a heavy persona, but it's like, it's not obvious on the page. But you can make it obvious if you read it.
So we both were mentored by Albert Huffstickler, and David, you lived right above him in that fourplex for
Yeah,
a
for
while.
quite a
right?
few years, yeah.
I'll give a shout out to Huff, or tell the people what.
Hey,
Huff
thanks
was.
for being here, brother.
Hey, Huff.
Still with us, yeah.
But talk about his influence, or did he, so we met like every other Sunday for years and years and years. And did he change things for you? Did he solidify, or what was his effect?
Great mentor and legitimatizing. He was a poet like it was his job,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
he had a work ethic with it, and
Mhm.
he embodied it, and he was it, and I don't know if I'd never saw anybody embody their art and what they did to the extent he did. I don't know if I would ever be able to imagine anybody doing that. And he was such a great example of that. And he was who he was, and you know, he chain smoke and drink coffee and
Yeah.
write and write and write and share it. And you know, the way he would encourage to send things
Mhm.
out and to do whatever to get it out there. And you know, and then he'd call you kid, you know.
Right, yeah, I
That's
love
pretty
that.
good, kid.
Well, see you later, kid.
Yeah, see you later, kid.
And we'd spend an afternoon, and at some point, you know, okay, let's have coffee and drink poetry. Or drink coffee and have poetry, write poetry. That's what I'm trying to say. But, you know, and he'd expect you to have your notebook and writing implement. Okay,
Yeah.
now we're going to write poems. Okay. And you were expected to do that, and you did.
And I saw him, like, he'd go like 3 or 4 times a day. I'd see him walk into the mailbox and coming back. Walk into the mailbox and coming back. Walking. He must have sent like 2 or 3 things out a day. So after a year or two, he started getting them back, but so he started getting mail every day. He was published in almost every state of the Union. I think maybe every one. He might have only missed 1 or 2. And then some places in Europe. And
And they loved him in England.
amazing, yeah.
So what about your own work ethic? You seemed, so, well, every year you do at least one show, right? That's commercial. But you have a pretty big show every spring, or it has been?
Yeah, we did 4 every winter. With the Electronic Planet Ensemble, if you want to see it on YouTube. It was a great process. Like, we'd get together around November and pick a theme, and 4 musicians, or 3 other musicians and me, and we just jam. And then in January, we'd do a show for 3 weekends. And then by February, gone. Until the following November, and we'd get together again.
Can you tell us about some of the shows?
Yeah, we did. The first one was Spaceman Dada Robot, and that was fun, because I got to research all the stuff about space and robots. And then we did I think Planet of the Mermaids. Man, I don't even remember the show.
Okay.
It's a couple of years ago.
UFO.
Surfing UFO, that was the
Yeah.
second one.
Yeah.
That one blew my mind because I researched all the UFO stuff and all the surfing stuff. And those things go together so well. I watched every surfing movie,
So,
and Patrick Swayze has one, and all the philosophy about you go with the wave, man, and the wave determines how you're going with the flow, you get steam. It's so good, and then all the UFO stuff just fits with it perfectly. And there's so much unexplained stuff out there.
mhm.
I'm not going to get into it now, but there's a lot of unexplained stuff out there that they should, reality TV, like that ain't reality. There's way more going on. So those were just so fun because I didn't even know how to put words to music exactly.
Mhm.
The first year I didn't know how to do it at all, so I just was like mashing my words into the music however I could. And then the second year I realized it's like 8 counts to a line
Mhm.
and 8 lines to a measure. And whoa, I can count syllables and fit it. And then the third year I thought, oh, I can loop things, like repeat myself.
Mhm.
And so, but yeah, it's not happening right now. Hopefully we
Okay.
get something else together.
We do Incarnation. One of my favorite things ever David did was Incarnation. It's all about those cool cars, and there's slides and guitar. And the first night was it was like a snow emergency night.
Yeah, nobody could get there in a car.
Yeah, nobody could get there in the car, but the house, the Hyde Park Theater was pretty much full.
Yeah,
It was very cold, but it was awesome.
yeah, that's just Sergio playing guitar and me. So I like that because that leaves a lot more space when it's just, and he's so good on guitar. And there's CDs on the table that
Yes.
take one, whatever.
And you're a photographer.
Yeah.
And how's that work with the poetry? Have you ever, like, made posters or tried to combine words and image?
I do sometimes. Not a lot, but I do sometimes. But I'm really glad photography came along because that's like 20 years ago now. But is it really?
Old.
Yeah. I think I got to the place in my writing where, like, I liked it, but it was so esoteric, like nobody was laughing anymore at anything. Nobody got it. It just didn't make any sense at all. It made sense to me, but it didn't make any sense because it was all so looking inward. And then I got the camera, and it's like, boom, the outside world appeared again. So I got to look out and see things out there. And then I didn't write at all for a while. I went to a college in Maine for a year and just did photo. And then for a while they went back and forth. I kind of do one if I was doing the other. And now, yeah, I kind of do both.
Okay. And you mentioned they weren't laughing anymore. What do you look for so you're up here reading, y'all are up there listening, and how do you know you're connecting?
I don't unless they laugh.
Okay.
But I don't necessarily try to be funny. My fantasy is to read the most, revealing, depressing, dark, horrible things I've ever written. But I never had the nerve to subject anybody to that yet.
I don't know about that.
Yeah. There's that donut shop in Kansas.
Yeah.
You
remember that one?
Yeah, good Lord. You can read that tonight, see what happens.
Oh, good, okay.
Yeah, so, and these days you also work with Raw Paw, and some of the reps are up front.
Yeah,
Raw Paw, and there's Raw Paw books in the back. Tell us about Raw Paw.
Raw Paw is the most fully oxygenated experience I've had in 20 years.
Wow.
It's like just brought new life and oxygen to my blood. Clementine Krasinski is like the vice president of Raw Paw.
There's
And,
Clementine up front,
and
Pan.
they do their record label, and they do yearly zine and still accepting submissions for the alien theme zine. The Dream Zine's on the back table, you can check it out. There's a CD and artwork and writing that come with that. And, it's, you know, you just gotta go to a Ralph event or like submit some stuff, and like we're doing chapbooks and you need to do a chapbook.
Yeah.
And Bill Jeffers needs to do a chapbook.
Yeah, everybody do a chapbook.
And the covers are designed.
Mhm.
Yeah, beautiful
Yeah,
artifacts.
beautiful art.
Mhm.
What's her name again?
Nicole Carlton.
Nicole Carlton, yeah,
Brilliant
does the
patterns
designs
designer.
for the covers that are brilliant.
Well, I need to get out of the way. If you have more questions for David after he reads, you will have that opportunity. So, David Jewell and poetry, please laugh. So we go.